We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Thank you, Dawn. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? All righty. I may need some coaching along the way, technology-wise, and I just had this lovely little note on the bottom of my computer screen that said my internet connection is unstable. So we will just see how all that works. All right. So welcome, everybody. This is our normal Awakening Together Sunday gathering. We are so glad to have you here, whether you are in the room with us or listening on the radio, or if you will listen later online as well. I am really glad to be here. I didn't have nerves this time until like 3 minutes before, so I just always need to take a little time to take a couple deep breaths and get prepared. I have new technology, and that's the nerve-wracking piece for me right now. So we will get through it, I am sure. And I was reminded today that there's always the message that I plan and prepare to give, then there is the message that I end up giving, and then there is the message that I repeat in my mind for the next couple days that I wish I'd given. And I need to remember that the one that I give, the one in the middle, is the Holy Spirit. So we will turn this over to him. And I'm going to let Dawn play our greeting so we can all say hello to each other and get ready. All righty, statement of purpose. Awakening Together is a universal assembly of peers dedicated to recognizing and embracing universal wisdom, regardless of the form in which it appears. We are also dedicated to recognize the ways we deny universal wisdom by adopting personal beliefs and biases. We want to recognize these limitations so we can free ourselves from them and open to the continuous flow of universal wisdom. We are an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self with an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols. We seek to discern one truth and rest in its embrace. And the core value that I am choosing to kind of highlight is we trust everyone is led by unique inner guidance to one experience called awakening, the realization of one true self. We live this value by supporting one another on different paths of awakening. And now I have some announcements. All Awakening Together members are invited to participate in the Minister Preparation Program, known as MPP. Our newest curriculum is being offered to the Awakening Together Discussion Forum, in the Awakening Together Discussion Forum. The purpose of the MPP forum-based curriculum is to enable members to participate in the MPP program who are unable to meet at a regularly scheduled class time due to work commitments, other commitments, or time zone conflict. Our Minister Preparation Program is designed to help participants increase reliance on their own inner spiritual wisdom, recognize universal truth in various spiritual teachings, embrace natural, wakeful spiritual practice with ease, and realized unswerving clarity and discernment. If you think you might be interested in the Minister Preparation Program, we are offering a free single session self-study introduction to MPP class. This class is required for all members who want to apply for MPP. The purpose of this class is to teach those who feel they may be interested in becoming an Awakening Together minister about awakening together and the responsibilities of an Awakening Together minister. If after completing this free single session self-study class, a person feels he or she wants to become an Awakening Together minister, that person may apply to join the Minister Preparation Program. Registration for Introduction to MPP is now open. Look on our main menu bar under Retreats and Classes, Online Classes, and then you'll find the registration link. When we sent out our retreat survey last year, our members told us that it would be helpful for us to offer shorter or weekend retreats in addition to our week-long retreats. Our first 3-day weekend retreat, Letting Go of Fear, will be held at the Retreat House in La Vida, Colorado, March 27th through 29th. This retreat is led by Regina Akers. At this retreat, you will come to understand the cause of fear and learn how you can become free of it. For more information or to register, please visit our website and look under Retreats and Classes, then Retreats at the Retreat House. We have been announcing new gentle healing groups for several weeks now. We want to take this opportunity to give you the dates and times of all 3 years of gentle healing in one announcement. Those of you who have been in a gentle healing group know what growth and insights can result from immersing yourself in the program. If you feel you missed your opportunity to immerse yourself in the program, or if you have friends or family members who you might feel will be interested in the same benefits, be aware that it is not too late to join our new Year 1 group. Year 1 is just completing their 4th week. Year 1 meets on Monday nights, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Year 2 begins March 3rd and meets on Tuesday nights, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Year 3 begins this Tuesday, February 25th, and meets each Tuesday, 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. All groups meet right here in the sanctuary. All righty, I believe those are our announcements. Okay, now we'll come to our reading. And Shawna is going to read. I really appreciate her stepping in. I was going to just type out the stuff from the reading from The Way of Mastery, and there was just too much of it. So Shawna has the book, so she stepped in for me. And I did adjust, just for time purposes, the amount. So it is from Lesson 10. The chapter is The Way is Easy and Without Effort. And we will start at the top of page 125. Shawna, where it starts, Beloved friends, the way is easy and without effort. And then read through the section that ends on 128. So Shawna, if you would take the mic, that'd be great. Thank you.
You bet. Good morning, everyone. So my throat's a little scratchy, so that's why I sound funnier than usual. I usually sound pretty funny. But so that changed just a little bit, Kelly. So the top of 125, right? Let's see, beloved friends. It changed just a little from what I was told. So we'll just start there, top of 125. Beloved friends, the way is easy and without effort. You exist to extend your treasure. And your treasure is that which is laid up in heaven through the decision to remember only your loving thoughts, to extend only loving thoughts, and to allow your actions to express or to manifest in the field of time the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Never is your freedom taken from you. Never, in any circumstance, do you lose the innocent freedom to teach only love, to be the presence of peace, to recognize that the world can give you nothing, just as the world can take nothing from you. When a child goes through a shift of awareness, they come to a point in their maturation process, not by struggle, not by design, not by much processing, and not by any manner of strategies. The child merely, in an instant, looks at the toys that he's been playing with and simply transcends them. The parents come home and the child has taken the toy truck and put it away in the closet. The doll is put on the windowsill. A book is picked up instead. Who makes the change? Not anyone outside that child. When you put aside any negative habit as you would perceive it to be, when you have given up placing value in something that no longer serves you, you merely transcend it and it is done with. No big deal. No one does it for you. You simply decide. You pull back the value you have placed on it, and the objects that were the symbols of what you were valuing merely drop out of your life. That's beautiful. In just this way, unenlightenment can be put away as though it were a toy that you have outgrown by merely looking at all the effects of unenlightenment and then asking the question, is this what I wish to continue as my experience? Or am I willing to put the doll on the windowsill and pick up a book instead? A book that speaks of life, a book that is filled with wisdom, a book that teaches you how to step lightly in the world, to be in the world, not of it. That book is the depth of your consciousness in which all things are already written. And that depth finds its source in your heart. You enter it through forgiveness, through the process of relinquishing the world, not hating the world, not despising the world, but simply relinquishing it. You allow your time to serve you in the process of relinquishing what does not serve you any longer and what only disturbs your peace. So now the new section is commit to awakening to the peace already within you. As you cultivate that practice, you will find that the peace that is already within you, that you have touched 1,000 times in 1,000,000 different ways, begins to grow more constant, like the rays of the sun beginning to filter through the fog that has settled into a valley, mountain valley, obscuring the clarity of all things. Your peace descends gently, like a dove descending, as some would say, through the crown of the head, down through the brain mind, down even to the heart, the abdomen, and throughout the cells of the body, while the body lasts. Gently relinquishing the world rests on your decision to choose to teach only love, because you have realized that when you do not, the effect that you know immediately is painful, conflicted, unfulfilling, and that is what you no longer want. You have begun to transcend the world that you have made and to reclaim the world made for you, a world that rests in perfect union, in the union of Father and Son, God and offspring, Creator and created. The way is easy and without effort. What value have you ever placed upon the world that has restored to you the peace that you seek. You have mistakenly thought, oh, this automobile will do it. This relationship will do it. This new career will do it. If only I can make a trip to the far corners of the world, then I will be at peace. And so peace never quite comes. A creator abiding in enlightenment knows that all events are neutral, so neutral that they have no effect, except for those who choose to get caught up in the illusions. The creator awakened merely creates out of devotion to the mystery of that which has created him or her. The mind of an enlightened creator does not arise in the morning and say, how can I survive another day in this world? In the morning, when an enlightened creator arises, the question is, how this day might I extend the treasure of the good, the holy, and the beautiful? How can I, right where I am, experience these treasures, even within the space and volume of this body? How can I look lovingly upon what my physical eyes show me, so that I discern or extract the good, the holy, and the beautiful, and therefore give them to myself? The mind of an enlightened creator knows that of themselves they do nothing. But in each moment of decision, they can allow the great power and mystery of love to direct their course. They can utilize time to refine their ability to hear only the voice for love, moment by moment, breath by breath, day by day, until time is translated into eternity. And the mind rests, reclines in its perfect union with God. Events still occur. The world is still what the world will choose to be, unaware that there walks in its midst one who's awake, who needs to make no show. They merely are the presence of wakefulness, knowing that in each moment they will now be informed by the guidance of the Comforter, the guidance of right-mindedness, the guidance of enlightenment, so that they no longer are attached to fearing. What should I say? What should I do? How will this person take it? How will that person take it? The world is no longer a concern. They experience their very life as an ongoing, flowing mystery, as though something else were living through them. This is the meaning of my friend's words, let that mind be in you, which was in our Lord Jesus Christ. As you would read in your Bible, that mind is the mind of perfect freedom. It does not belong to anyone, but it can be cultivated to flow through you. But only if every fiber of your beingness is wholly committed to holiness. You cannot leave a finger outside and get to heaven. All of your mind, all of your energy, all of your gifts, and all of your very awareness must become committed to being the presence of peace. This is what no one can do for you. Sitting at the feet of enlightened teachers will not do it for you. The wisest of students are those that hear the word and put it into practice diligently for themselves, not for their mother, not for their father, not for their spouse, not for their kids, brother, sister, planet, universe, not for the sake of the new dawn that is coming, not for the sake of anything but themselves. For their self is what God created. That self calls out to you to honor it by separating yourself from the illusions that you have allowed to make a home in your mind, and becoming wholly committed to teaching only love. There is no other way. Yes, you can learn to sit in meditation and allow the mind and body to float free, to relax. Yes, you can learn the rituals that help focus attention so you remember what you're committed to, and the distractions of the world do not seem to quite catch you or hook you as much. There are many strategies that you can enjoy and experience, but in the end, it is only this: a quiet choice within that no one recognizes, that no one sees, that no one hears. This is why I shouted at the Pharisees, "Oh yes, you indeed get your reward, standing on the street corners, letting everyone know that you are fasting and praying, when you should go into your own closet to pray." That is, to be in your own privacy, not making a show, but simply using each moment to reaffirm your commitment to learning all that love is by teaching it. By the word teach, I mean simply that you choose to express only love in each moment. Forgiveness is an act through which you learn what love is, that carries you into a transcendence of the world. Sharing only loving thoughts, supportive thoughts, as you look gently upon the Christ in another, is a way that takes you into the transcendence of the world. Looking upon all things of this world and seeing their perfect harmlessness, and their lack of ability to constrain or imprison you is a way that takes you beyond the world. And yet all of these things rest on the practice of seeking the kingdom first, which means not to believe in me, not to have some theological notion about what God is, not to adhere to a certain religion or a certain church doctrine. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It is the very power of choice. Which pebble will you drop into the pool of your consciousness? Beautiful. Imagine reaching a point where just prior to every action that you engage, without ritual, without difficulty, without the grand shows and displays, the burning of incense and the lighting of 40 million candles, all of the Gregorian chants or rock and roll or whatever you choose, without any of it, in the silent temple of your heart, make a simple choice. In this moment, I'm going to discover what it means to teach only love. It might be a simple smile. It might be to let your eyes gaze at the beauty of a flower and say, "Ah, it is very good." It might be to eat your breakfast and actually be there while you're eating it, instead of letting your mind run off. Here, beloved friends, is the way to truth that sets you free. You must absolutely become wholly committed to being awake for no other reason than that you have realized you have no other choice. You've already made them all, and they have only led to pain. Thank you. Thanks for hanging in there.
Oh, thank you, Shawna. We used you right up to the end, didn't we? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It was kind of a long reading, but I could not decide the pieces parts because I loved and needed it all. I love the title of this chapter, "The Way is Easy without effort," and that probably is what led me to be thinking about the title, you know, the difference between spiritual effort and spinning of wheels, because I have a tendency to at times appear very busy and get absolutely nothing accomplished. So I thought it was a very nice way and a good opportunity for me, as Jacqueline always teaches, that I need to, you know, teach what I need to learn for myself and what I would learn. And so it took me in this direction. So I was, when reading the announcements about gentle healing, I was just reminded of my last opportunity in gentle healing. I started a year one again with Jacqueline and Connie, and I didn't finish the class, and I have a lot of stuff around that of not finishing, and it actually led me to kind of pull back from even Awakening Together as a whole. And I would still listen on the radio at times, but was not, you know, coming into the room and sharing and being with everybody. And part of the reason of that was I was struggling so much, and it wasn't for lack of effort. I mean, I was trying. I was trying hard to keep up on homework and keep up on reading and participate, and how it got to feeling was that I literally felt like I was at times drowning in just in the class in itself. And how I always pictured it was just when I would just get some clarity on like one concept, and I would come to a place where I thought I understood it. It was like coming up, taking a nice deep breath after being drowned for a while. I would come up, take a nice deep breath, and then another wave would come with another concept that threw me for a loop, and I couldn't wrap around it, and I couldn't understand. And so it came to be a time for me where it was kinder, actually, and more loving for myself to step back and kind of take a look and see what was going on with all that. And what I have discovered just through preparing for this, for sharing today, was that, and I couldn't see it at the time, so stepping back was helpful, that it was all about effort in the thinking mind. It was all about trying so hard to understand with this mind that conceptualizes and tries to manage and control and all that stuff. And finally realizing that, like, when this literature talks about that the way is simple and the way is easy and it's without effort, it is not talking about using the thinking mind. And I had heard that, and it made very much intellectual sense to me, but I had not experienced it like I did when I finally took a look at that. So the way is easy and without effort. Once you come to the end of all the stuff your own mind is telling you about whatever topic it is, and truly being willing to lay that aside for just a moment in time, and then the way can kind of show itself for you. So things in the, in the spiritual realm can, seem pretty tough and arduous and effortful. And I have, certainly experienced that. So it was a very good lesson to me. The reading talks a little bit about our values, that when we can get to a point of relinquishment, that what that is, relinquishment, is letting go of the value we have placed on certain things. And I I looked back into my experience in gentle healing, and the stuff that I began to value was the same kind of stuff that I valued as a child growing up, attempting to be recognized, attempting to be special, attempting to be right, attempting to have you know, kind of accolades and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's the same kind of effort I put into relationships and work. And, you know, it's a pattern. It certainly wasn't nowhere. It wasn't just in gentle healing, but it was in gentle healing that I was finally able to see it. So I think that that idea of relinquishing value and changing value is pretty important. And there's this beautiful part here that talks about relinquishing the world, a process of relinquishing the world. And that's not hating the world, it's not despising the world, but it is simply relinquishing. You allow your time to serve you in the process of relinquishing what does not serve you any longer and what only disturbs your peace. So I was thinking about how much effort it actually takes to be a human being, to be a individual, to have that individual identity. And we put so much time and energy into building that up. And the work, as it seems to be, that we do around here is in letting that process go. And I don't always want to do that. I don't like letting go of me. One of the things that I was reminded of when I was putting some ideas together was also Eckhart Tolle's. He uses a very great illustration about how I use it, as how involved I need to be in my own life. And he talks about closing your eyes and picturing all of the systems in your body that run. So we have the circulatory system, our digestive system, our neural system. We have all these things that that run, maybe not perfectly for some of us, but they run and they keep us moving and they keep us breathing, and we use it to maneuver around here in this world and perceive and all that stuff. And he does ask the question, how much do you have to participate in that? And he asks the question to the ego, how much do you have to pay attention to that, to what's going on in your circulatory system? How much do you have to pay attention to your digestive system to get that running? How much are you involved? And kind of alludes to the fact of that's how much involvement you are needed in the rest of your life, basically. And that always kind of stops me short. And I recognize that the majority of my time is spent looking out into the world, trying to manage it, trying to keep myself safe, trying to keep my family members safe. And that is not where my time and my attention is needed. My time and my attention is needed in this going within, this relinquishment, the willingness to look at the things that I get caught up in, and to honestly look at that. I can't emphasize enough what how resistant I was to looking at what was going on for me in gentle awakening. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I thought I was beyond those things. I thought I was better than that. I thought I had learned and grown and all that stuff that we think of ourselves. and to look and see that I truly was, you know, feeling like a 13-year-old, a teenager around a group of women that was very hard for me to participate in. It was not easy to look at. But I think by being willing to do that, there is hope that maybe I can hang around Awakening Together a little bit longer, because I do love you and I enjoy being here. It is, I have missed it. I have missed it. And so I'm grateful that somebody reached out and asked me to come back officially. So, so it's just the idea of, in the world, when I am trying to manage things in the world, I am applying a lot of effort. I'm trying to arrange things and manage things. And the way that is easy and without effort is certainly the way that is within, and letting go of that individual identity and specialness. And I often think when I'm getting ready to do something new, like gentle healing or taking on any new goal or task, on the onset, it always does seem like it's going to be a piece of cake. And I think of going through the process of quitting smoking for myself. It's just part of my story. And, you know, I would always plan a quit right in the middle of a cigarette. That's when I would start thinking about, oh, it's going to be easy, right? I mean, I'm going to get these tools in place. I have all the support. I have everything that I need. And so I'm sitting there smoking, planning my quit, and just reveling in how great it's going to be when it's over. And all that stuff, all that support, everything I've read, everything I understand, you know, I would get about 6 hours into that thing, and that craving would hit, and everything that I had ever learned or read or heard would go out the window, because in that moment, I was nothing but a body. In that moment, there was nothing else. There was a shell of a body that demanded its nicotine. And that was the reality of it. And so I would succumb again, and then go back through that process the entire time. That is, and there was never any relief in that until I eventually, on the onset, got very honest with myself that it was going to be extremely painful at about 6 hours in, and that was not going to change, and it would feel like those waves coming over me and drowning me. But knowing that in that time, I just had to sit through it and allow it to do its thing. And when I understood that, then I was finally able to go through those 6 hour periods and go through more, and eventually be at a place where I did transcend it. You know, this talks about relinquishing anything. And so it's just a releasing, and addiction was like that, that once I was willing to go through the work, go through the purification of it, go through that process, and get to the other side, the symbols of that, which was, you know, for me, it was, you know, I needed, addiction for me was just something that made me feel like I could function in the world. It was something that I thought I would needed added to my world to make it tolerable. And once I worked through that and realized that that was the lie and let it go, then the symbols of that, i.e. the cigarette, was no longer in my world at all. I mean, there was no longer lighters on my tables, my bedside tables. There was no longer packs of cigarettes all over the place. There was no longer, you know, cigarette butts in my ashtray in my car. And And so the symbol had finally gone because I had actually let go of the value I was placing on that. So I think that that is probably something that can happen in, you know, a lot of different areas of our lives. So I believe, I know that I am not on the right timeline, but I think I'm going to go ahead and go into contemplation because I do feel like I am just spinning my wheels. You guys are so gracious that you are still here and listening to me. I just love you for that. I love Awakening Together for that. I love MPP for that, because it really is an incredible way for us all to get together and just work through all this stuff. Oh, that's a nice one, isn't that? Oh, thank you. And thank you for all the lovely, lovely messages. I appreciate that. So now we'll open it up. If anybody would like to share, we have open sharing now. Regina, you're it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kelly. You know, at the end, you said something about how nice we were just sitting here listening to you. And I want to let you know that's not true. At least from my perspective, I wasn't being nice at all. I was completely interested. And I felt completely devoted to what you were saying. I think the song was perfect. I'm ready to let the river wash over me, because, you know, you talked about, I think I quoted it wrong. I think it's, I'm ready to let the river wash over me. I typed watch. Yeah. But you talked about how you struggled with gentle healing because you were trying to understand it. And you talked about how you finally saw that. And that is an incredible teaching, that not everyone has reached that realization yet. What you taught was profound. In fact, when you get to Gentle Healing Year 3, step 1, all of step 1 is about how the mind can't do this. Every single quote in step 1, over and over and over again, is saying, the mind cannot do this. The mind will never do this. Let go of trying to do this with the mind. That's what step 1 is all about. And so, you know, what you have demonstrated is deeply profound and deeply important. Also, I want to comment again on how you said something about us being nice, sitting here listening to you. Like I said, I wasn't at all nice. What's happening now, and it will become even more obvious in the next few months, is that I am stepping way back into the background. And as I step way back into the background, what I need, or what we all need, is for more people like you to step into the foreground, right exactly where you're at. You know, we're not asking anyone to be any place different than where they are. That's one of our core values. But as you step forward and you share honestly from right exactly where you are, you have no idea how profound that is. You know, people go back and they listen to my Holy Spirit guides and that kind of thing. You know, those audios start way back in like 2005, 2006, 2007. You know what those are? Those are me just being very honest about right where I was right then. You know, I wasn't speaking then like I speak now. And yet people listen to those audios. You know, years later, people are still listening to those audios thinking that they're profound. Why? Because sharing honestly and thoughtfully and contemplatively about where you are right now as you're finding your way through this path, that is profound. And what's also interesting about this path is that it is never, ever going to be the same thing for each and every one of us. You know, we each share from where we're at, and certainly we share things that are helpful to other people, but nobody else is ever going to have Buddha's path, or Jesus's path, or Ramana's path, or Nisargadatta's path, or Michael Langford's path, or Bernadette Roberts' path, or my path. The only path you're ever going to walk is your path. And you have to do it exactly your way. You know, both what we might interpret as the failures and the successes, all of which are actually a part of the success. That's why Jesus says in the Course, you don't know your advances from your retreats. But let's be honest, the mind is going to interpret them as our failures and our successes. And that's a part of our path, right? And I think it is brilliant when people come in and share honestly from their path. Since we have a little bit of time, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to share from NTI Acts chapter 1, because this is what came up for me when I had my eyes closed and was listening to that song about letting the river wash all over me. NTI Acts chapter 1 is a reinterpretation of, in the Bible, you know, Jesus had died on the cross, and he was resurrected, and he came down and he spent some time with the apostles, and then he ascended into heaven. And so Acts chapter 1, NTI Acts chapter 1 is a reinterpretation of that scene where after spending time with the apostles, Jesus ascends into heaven. And you could say he leaves the apostles. You know, they're now here, stumbling around, finding their own way with their own path. And in fact, that's what Acts, for those of you who don't know the Bible really well, that's what Acts is. It's the Acts of the apostles. It's all about the story of the apostles after Jesus ascended to heaven. And they were kind of, pardon the language, but kind of left behind to figure things out on their own, to find their own guidance, right? So let me just read to you from NTI Acts chapter 1. It says, the power of all truth is within you. The story of Jesus is helpful to you as a guide, a tool, and a symbol. But the answer for you lies not in his story. If it had, he would have stayed on earth to provide the answers to you. But Jesus left your realm and returned to the Father, that you may be freed to find your answer within yourself. In other words, sometimes when there's a really strong leader around, like Jesus, we fail to follow our own path as well as we could, because our attention is focused too far outward towards this strong leader. So the strong leaders have to pass away. They have to leave. You know, they stay and they point for a time, but then they have to go, because if they don't go, we remain too dependent outer. And instead we need to come inner. And in spite of our weaknesses and our failures and everything else, right, that we perceive, that's the way we have to go. It says, the Holy Spirit, which seemed to be given to the apostles when Jesus ascended from the world, was not passed on to them at this time. Only God can give the gift of the Holy Spirit, and God has given this gift to everyone. And again, that's right there in our core values as well. The gift has always been in the world, even before Jesus. The gift has always guided you. But as long as you continue to look outside of yourself for answers and satisfaction, you are unaware of this gift. When Jesus ascended and promised the baptism of the Holy Spirit, he only pointed the apostles to seek where the Holy Spirit already was. Of course, that's within each one of us, right? In this way, they learned not to look outside for teaching and guidance, but to clearly look within. This is my lesson to you. I am here to help for a time, but my purpose is to teach you to look and listen within. For always your guidance must come from there, because always the answer is there. So again, I think the reason I felt inspired to share is because I think at the end of your teaching, and I think this is probably true for a lot of people, I'm not picking on Kelly, I'm really speaking to everyone here, everyone, every single one of you. I think that many of you judge yourself as not far along enough, as not getting it well enough. You know, you're going to remain forever sheep that way. And I don't know if you guys know, but sheep are pretty stupid. You know, you have to step out of being the sheep. You have to. It's the only way you're ever going to find that inner guidance and follow it. And you have to trust what comes through you, even if it seems to be very, very little. You know, that's just your mind judging it, right? I'm sure you guys all heard what I heard in Kelly's sharing today. I'm sure you all heard how brilliant it was. I even loved her talking about how when she was sitting there smoking, you know, she was planning her quit. And it seemed easy then. But what she learned was she had to, in order to quit, she had to sit through the uncomfortable periods. That's also an incredibly profound lesson, because you know what? Not one of us is going to awaken without sitting through the uncomfortable periods. Not one of us. So Kelly, I hope you keep coming back, and I hope you keep sharing right where you're at. You have no idea how important that is, and I mean that with all of my sincerity. It's important for you, and it's important for everyone that hears, and those who need to hear where you're at. You know, regardless of where you are on this path, you're ahead of somebody. I promise you that. And those that aren't as far along as you are, they can relate to you much more than they can relate to somebody who's, you know, much, much further along the path. In fact, let me tell you, I'm sorry to take so much time, but let me tell you, when I first started this path, about a vision that I had, and this was in, you know, my guesstimate is, you know, September-ish, August, September-ish of 2004. And I started the spiritual path in April of 2004. So you can tell I was a beginner, right? And I had this vision. It was inspired by, in the course, it talks about Plato's cave. It was inspired by that section of the course. You know, and we're all sitting there in this deep, dark cave with our arms, we think, chained to the ground, our feet chained to the ground, our heads are down. You know, and we think we're completely helpless. And, you know, everybody's down there. And what happened in this vision is, for some reason, I lifted my head and began to look. Nobody else was. Everybody else was still looking right at the ground, like that's all there was. But I lifted my head and I started to look up. And what I noticed is there were a few people realizing there were no change, and they were starting to get up. And when they first got up, it was extremely difficult, because if you can imagine, you've been sitting there chained for eons, you know, and the muscles don't even know how to move and how to get up anymore. So these people that were trying to get up to their feet, even though there were no chains, they still had to struggle. You know, there weren't chains keeping them down, but they'd been there for so long, they still had to struggle. But what I saw, and I was just turning my head, even that was hard, to be honest, looking. But they were getting up, they were struggling to get up, and then there were some who were already up and were kind of pretty good on their feet. And they were walking towards this stairway. And this stairway went up to this, you know, it looked like a light. You know, when you step out of a deep cavern, there's going to be a hole with lots of sunlight. But every step along that stairway, up to that hole that led out into the light, every single step there was a teacher standing there. And as the people would come to the first step, the teacher on the first step would reach out, take their hand, and help them up to the second step. And then the teacher on the second step took them and took their hand and helped them to the third step, all the way up that staircase. And then there was somebody who was actually outside, already in the light, reaching in and helping them take that last step out into the light. But there were teachers all the way along the way. And you know, our minds would judge that teacher on the first step. You know, if we're all arrogant and higher, we're going to judge that teacher on the first step as, you know, not very advanced and, you know, all this kind of stuff. But the truth is that teacher on the first step was perfect to help people on the first step. You know, so every one of us coming in and teaching right from where we're at, just honestly, that's the only thing that's needed. You know, we're not here to look more awake than we are. In fact, that's one of our greatest failures on the spiritual path. We're here to be honest, just honest. That's it. Honest about your struggles, honest about your clarity, honest about your doubts. That's all we're here to do. That's what awakening together is all about. Go back and look at our core values. I had my eyes closed when Kelly was reading the core value this morning. It just really struck me about how perfect that core value is. Go back and read our core values. I challenge each and every one of you to do that this week. You know, we say them at the beginning. We say at least one at the beginning of every weekly gathering, but I think people aren't necessarily listening deeply. You know, go back and read them and ask yourself, do I want to be a part of this, what this purpose and these core values point to? And if so, am I supposed to just be the follower, the sheep? Is that what the core values say? Is that what the core values describe? Or am I supposed to get involved, following my own inner guidance, respecting everyone else right where they're at, letting them follow their own inner guidance, each of us making our way up off that cave floor to the bottom of the staircase, up the staircase and out in our own way, all of us supporting each other lovingly as we do it. So thank you, Kelly. I really genuinely thought it was brilliant, and I'm releasing the mic.
Thank you so much, Regina. That was beautiful. I enjoyed that very much. And I hear that Carla would like to share. Hi, Carla.
Hello. I gotta tell you, I had something that came to my mind when I raised my hand, and so this is what I heard from Regina. There from where you are. And I've been hesitating to do that because it seems like, and everything is used by ego as fodder for ego, whatever. It's not even real, right? But for the agenda, it thinks it is, I guess. And my experience is when I first started realizing what judgments were, meaning we give to everything, the Carlos self, I guess, Carlos kept judging the judgments. The judgments just arise because it seems like in this body, there's the ego mind, which is given us for a purpose, but I think in time, we've altered it to make it bigger than it really is. It's really nothing. It's just a helpful tool that was given us to navigate this world of form. So when I let go of the judgments, the judgments, I realized the truth. I am not the judger. Never have been the judger. To notice the judgments that come, I am the chooser of what I choose and how I respond to every experience. So right now, it's very challenging. Even saying it's very challenging is even ego there too, because nothing is challenging. Everything is just an experience that the I am is open to having or learning to, as in it was shared in the way of mastery, to extend love from the causal body of God. And we're all learning that in our own way, in our own experiences. And you wonderfully shared your own experience of opening up to a deeper realization and learning to love yourself and whatever. It's like there's no one thing in anything. It's everything's connected. So what I want to share, well, besides what I have, is that there's nothing ever wrong or bad about what we choose. We're just learning. We're just learning. If it takes a day, a lifetime, many lifetimes, that's just how long you're choosing. And there's nothing wrong or bad in that. So I'm really grateful that what you shared, that this is what I am trying to extend to people. That look at your life. Look at your life. Your life is exactly designed for you to awaken. Everything that happens in your life is so lovingly planned. Even what seems like a challenging experience now, where I'm in a wheelchair and I have a boot on my foot and it seems like it can't even leave my house. I can crawl out to the street, which I have a couple times. Attracts a lot of attention. But and I live alone. And yeah, it's what it is. And ego tries to tell me stuff all the time. And I know that what this is to help me practice responding to every experience with love. So I hope I shared clearly. Even hope is ego probably, because I know I shared as clearly as I can. So thank you so much for the help at giving me this avenue to express myself, because my house is probably listening to me quite often, 24/7, but it doesn't respond to me at all. So anything is helpful. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Carla. All right, we have come to the end of our time. Thanks for everyone for helping us fill it up, and love you very much, and would hope that you guys stay on for fellowship after, and we will close and start that. So have an awesome rest of your day. Love you all, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. This was our weekly gathering that we hold online. For more information, you can visit our website at awakening-together.org, or you can subscribe to our Awakening Together channel and click the bell for more notifications when we post our weekly gatherings. Thank you again for watching.